Tim Pool is the host of Timcast. So now is it clear why they withheld this audio?
Yes, I think it was clear to us the whole time. I think it's fascinating that the narrative they're trying to run now is we missed the story. We just were completely unaware this thing had been happening. You know what I'm thinking the whole time we're playing these clips is there are a lot of liberal news institutions, powerful newspapers that like to refer to someone like me as conservative simply for noticing that the sitting president was infirm. He was incapable of doing his job. When they released the transcript, immediately, anybody who's rational says, let's hear the tape. I mean, you're saying we're not going to prosecute this guy while claiming Donald Trump did the same thing but should be prosecuted. We want to hear what happened and why. And they withhold it. Now they have the nerve to come out and claim, is it the White House Correspondents' Dinner or whatever? Oh, whoopsie. We just missed this one the whole time. I don't understand how regular people sitting at home saw this happen, and these journalists claim they had no idea what was going on.
So the tape is so much worse than the transcript. And the transcript was bad because the transcript, he doesn't know when Trump was sworn in. He doesn't know when he was elected. And he was about 2, maybe 3 years off from when his son died. Now, I feel bad for him. Robert Hur, in a way, was right. Would a jury vote to indict a guy that can't even remember when his son passed away or couldn't even remember when he was vice president?
If they're in D.C., he was right. It's
You're
not
right.
going to happen.
Yeah, right.
But, it's sad to see that this was the state of the presidency. And it's regular people calling it out. And it's the corporate institutions, not every single corporate institution. Obviously, there were some journalists that were speaking out against this. But they covered it up. And they covered it up because they knew they were going to lose an election. And then they end up pulling out the last minute, acting like they were surprised to find out the guy was not functioning properly. What if there was an instant where Joe Biden he stated, I think, Libya instead of Syria.
Yeah.
Imagine he's in the Situation Room and he gives an order directly and firmly, we're gonna send troops to Libya. And these guys look at each other. Now they have to make a decision. Do we follow that order, genuinely believing we should move into Libya? Or is the president unwell and he's at the wrong country, so we defy his order?
Well, that's when you think maybe he didn't know about the border. Maybe no one told him about the border because some of the reporting says they never gave him bad news. So maybe he really didn't talk through the Afghanistan withdrawal. Maybe he forgot what he said about Bagram. I mean, everything is now in question with this guy. Do you think they understand that this Hur thing or these tell-alls, there might be more of this? We don't know what else could come out.
I am curious why or how Axios got access to this audio, considering it was an Axios reporter claiming we missed this story. It's almost like it's intentionally coming out now so the journalists can try and save face. But it does call into question these pardons, the use of auto pen. And I think it may actually open the door. I'm not a lawyer, but I'd imagine Trump or his administration may try to make some arguments to the federal courts about actions Joe Biden took, because now we've got more information coming out and they're reasonably going to determine, yeah, Joe Biden couldn't remember anything. He didn't even know when it's sad. He didn't know when his son died or when Trump got elected or when he left office. How could he have made these decisions? How could they be legal?
So if you have the auto pen, you have the Hur audio, and you have some of these tell-alls, which are basically like a confession. Do you think there should be hearings on Capitol Hill about this cover-up?
Yeah, but I wonder what those would really accomplish. It's tough. It's good the public knows. It's good we question it. But I do think the more information we get on this, the better it is for this country. You can see with Donald Trump winning a popular mandate, there was a genuine swing from individuals who started to wake up to what was going on, that some of these longstanding news institutions had been lying to them. When they come out and claim we missed it, it just hurts their credibility more.
All right. Tim Pool, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.